have some skin in the game here, to participate and have given something towards this. I think we've got extras here. I'm not sure that everybody's here who's going to be participating in the small group, so I think we got a few others who will be taking some. The groups themselves, you can see when they meet. Groups meet Wednesday morning, Power Company. That may go a little longer because Power Company's not in a big hurry ever. I think we don't start actually getting down to business until about 10 or 15 minutes after we're supposed to start, because we're just very casual. Hey, when you're retired, just, right, enjoy it.
Well, we're not going to take advantage of it, though.
That's it. Wednesday evening groups is at the Showalters. If you need directions, you can see Jared. Thursday nights at my house, same bat time, 7 to 8:05. During the summer, there will be times where the group host will be out of town. Maybe Norman and Kay will be out of town, so I may jump in and sub for him. There may be times where, like, I'm on vacation, or I may have to be down to see my mom again this summer. If that's the case, I may get Norman to sub for me, and in that case, I would just probably have the group meet at the church that night rather than at my home. I know the Showalters, you guys have vacation one week, and I think you've got a YWAM commitment one week. So if you're in Jared and Crystal's, and they'll communicate, we'll try to just communicate within each group about that, that you can know where everybody's meeting that week and things of that. Also, as we make this work long term, we'll need others who are willing to host groups. This group, or this session, goes through official summer from basically the week after the camp out. So next week, technically, we'll begin small groups on Wednesday and Thursday. Not this coming one, but the next one. And it goes through mid to late September. And so we'll need other people who will be willing to host groups. Because this is a lot of work to host a group of people coming over to your home every single week. And so to keep that from falling on 2 or 3 families, it'd be great if we could see others who would be willing to kind of open their homes. And hopefully you'll get a feel for how informal we want this to be, and have, each quarter is going to be 12, 13, 14 weeks, and then we could rotate you out. So offering up your home to meet on something like this wouldn't be like a permanent commitment, like you're never getting out of it. Like I did with Jared and Crystal, they said they would be willing, and I said, well, okay, this will just go for 14 weeks, and so it's a short-term type commitment. So if I could ask you, if you're going to participate, to pray about perhaps at some point hosting a group and things like that. And Jared and I talked about this on some Wednesday nights, at least at my house and maybe at his as well. We may do a fire in the backyards if the bugs aren't bad, and have our discussion out around the campfire in the backyard if the weather's nice, and just enjoy the summer weather and things like that. All right, miscellaneous notes. Miscellaneous notes. I want to get through this and then give you some time to ask any questions you have. Let me ask you, first of all, to just do your best to be faithful, to be committed to the group you've signed up for, to be involved with them. Nothing will discourage others more than you not showing up regularly. I mean, if you're on vacation, that's one thing. Everybody knows you're on vacation. But like, if we just get lazy and get in the habit of not meeting, nothing is going to discourage and kill small groups more than people just not coming, not making it a priority. So let me encourage you to be committed. Number 2, attendance in corporate worship. These groups are not a substitute for corporate worship. I think you all know that, but I wanted to be explicit about that. They fill a slot biblically and meet a need biblically that I think needs to be met. But so does corporate worship. It's a whole other slot. And so I think we need both of these, not one or the other. Now, I will say there may be weeks where you can make it to one and not to the other for work or vacation. I get all that. I'm just saying, don't just start coming to small groups and then I never see you on Sunday, is what I'm saying. Do's and don'ts. Let's plan to try to come 5 or 10 minutes early for fellowship so that the group can begin on time. And I'm going to talk about scheduling in a minute. We are going to try to stick to a pretty strict schedule. Be careful as you are discussing. Inevitably, controversial things will come up during discussion. Remember not to stir the pot when it comes to things like that. Remember that the goal is to stir each other towards love and obedience and unity in the truth of the gospel, not to try to stir up controversy or things like that. Scheduling and layout. Our goal is to keep a pretty strict time schedule in our small groups. And in doing that, we want to respect your time, and especially those of you or those of us, I include myself in this, with little kids. We want to be respectful of the time you're making to come out for this, and so we want to try to make sure we begin and end on time and keep the schedule so you can hopefully not disrupt your bedtime schedules and all that any more than necessary. So what that means is that practically, while we want to be sensitive to the Spirit as He leads and He opens up opportunities for discussion, we do have to recognize that there's an inherent danger in small groups for them to become, or for them to gradually devolve and become something that is less structured, less focused, and prone to rabbit trails. Okay? When that happens, when the groups devolve into rabbit trails and they're less focused and less structured and we're not staying on task, when that happens, the group ends up failing to accomplish its purpose for meeting. People feel like their time has been wasted, which inevitably leaves them disenchanted and less likely to be involved again. In other words, being disciplined in how we conduct our small groups, like sticking to the time schedule every single week, will help us ensure success, is what I'm saying, and not letting it devolve. So I've asked Jared and Norman both. Power Company isn't as critical because many of the times you don't have anything to do or anywhere to go, so you guys can sit in fellowship. But for our evening groups, it's a little more important because you've got kids to get to bed, you've got work the next day, things to do, you're already tired, you may have only had a quick dinner, if dinner at all, by the time you come.
Well, Med does need to get home and get his nap.
That's true. So you want to get Med home to get his nap on Wednesday afternoon. So I've asked them to do their best to stick to the schedule, and as members of the group, I would say to you, it's your responsibility too to help the group stay focused and stay on task, and you know, kind of keep the group, at least as far as you're concerned, from going off on rabbit trails. I hope you sense the grace with which I'm trying to say the things that need to be said. Let's stay on topic, stay on focus, and then when you're done, if you want to hang around in fellowship and you don't have anywhere to go, then fine, that's cool. But while we're there to pray, we're there to discuss, let's do that. And there may be times where discussion is going really good, and Jared or I may have to say, okay, really want to go down this, this has led to this to talk about, but we're going to have to hit that next week because our time's done and we want to give time to pray so that we can be done on time. So just understand that. We want to, I think long term, as the church grows, as we have more groups in the future, if we don't start this now, we're never going to be able to get it under control later. Children's the last thing. Children are part of our church life. We've been blessed with many of them. Small groups have been divided with consideration for the number of them and their ages, as best I can anyway. Groups may address children in their groups as they deem appropriate. So I'm kind of leaving this up to each group leader and the parents for how to deal with the children. It may be as simply as allowing the children to play in another room or outside if the weather's permissible, or just play with some toys right there. Part of it's depending on their age, as to what you're comfortable with. And I will say that as the children grow older and more mature, I would encourage parents to begin letting their kids come in and sit and engage in the conversation as well. Now, probably, I would say, Hayden's in junior high. Probably Hayden's, Drew, Evan are probably the only ones that are quite old enough where they would, where they'd be old enough to engage in some serious conversation spiritually. But I say that just at the outset, that this isn't, that we want to include our kids as early as possible, or as early as you feel is appropriate for your child to be involved, or that they want to be involved. For the record, we had a pastoral intern when I was in South Carolina do some research on small groups for us, and he did a big study and wrote a big paper for us on small groups and how churches large and small did small groups. And one of the outcomes of his research for us was that nobody knows what to do with kids in small groups. Big churches, small churches, doesn't matter. It's the thing that everybody's like, I don't know. Big, really rich big churches sometimes will pay for babysitters. You know, you got the churches with a couple thousand people, they'll pay for a babysitter for their small group. Yeah, that's right. That was only one church that I heard of doing that. Most of them in his research with these other pastors basically said kind of what I'm saying, that they just kind of let the kids play so that parents can sit and have spiritual conversation. Now, it is informal, so I suspect that at some point somebody's going to fall down and come in crying, or that's fine. This is informal. It's not like, a real service. It's not like a worship service where there's formality and we're going to be kind of sitting in a circle and we're going to chat and and things. So my point is everybody's going to struggle. Everybody struggles with this, what to do with kids in small groups. So if it seems like, are we doing this right? Is there another way? No, there's not. I don't know what to tell you. The big churches haven't figured this out either. So, and we'll just roll with it. We'll have fun with it. I mean, this is how it was. Churches in the early church, they met in homes, and I'm sure the kids cried and the kids played and whatever while moms and dads were doing this. Okay. Small group schedule, you can look there at the schedule for what we'll be covering each week. The different chapters, there are 14 chapters. So there's some really great stuff in this workbook. By the way, the book is designed, each chapter is only 3 or 4 pages. So it's designed where if you can read ahead and be ready when you come, that's great. But if you can't, no big deal. Because we're planning as a group to kind of read through it together again, to kind of refresh your memory, and then to discuss it, because it's short enough that you can do that. It's not like a book. It's only 3 or 4 pages. We can probably read it in 5 minutes or less, and then discuss. It will help if you can, for sure, read some of the Bible verses, especially week 1. It's the only week like this, but the first week of the Bible verse on the bottom of page 7 is like 2 chapters, okay? Most weeks we will read, now I think he gives a key verse as just one verse, 1 Corinthians 10:31.